will call this meeting to order. This is the June meeting of the Port Level Village Council Board of Directors. The meeting is being recorded. It's also being broadcast on our YouTube channel. And we will follow Robert's Rules of Order for small boards. Thank you all for being here this afternoon. Giving up a beautiful afternoon to come and be part of this stimulating discussion. Why are you laughing? Why?
Sorry.
Let's get things started with our stakeholder update. Diana is traveling today. The only thing I have from PLA, it was brief. Could I use the microphone? Yes, I will use the microphone. Thanks for reminding me. Can you hear me?
No, it's, there you go.
Push the button.
That's the one. Come on, analog guy.
It's green. It's green. Testing. Can you hear me better? All right, that's good. All right. Diana sent me a note about a PLA open house scheduled for Wednesday, July 16th, 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. And the note says, join us for our Port Level residents open house. Let us show you what Port Level Resort has to offer our Port Level residents. I responded by asking her where that was going to be, and she's traveling, and so I don't have the answer to that. But put it on your calendar. Someplace here in Port Level, there's going to be an open house for Port Level residents on July 16th, 3 to 5 p.m., which is a Wednesday. All right. Jameson.
I'll see if I can project.
You're probably gonna have to transfer the mic, there's not a mic up there.
I'm probably can project, I think, unless it needs it for the recording.
No, I can get it, it's more the ears out here.
All right. What? We'll give this a go. Okay. So some fun stuff on the utility front.
Yeah.
It's been a lively couple weeks, really, so we'll cover some big stuff here. I believe the Port Ludlow area was part of our outage that occurred. It only lasted about 2 hours, but it knocked out power to 17,500 customers. Basically everyone north of Highway 104 and some actually down the Shine area as well. So that one was determined to be a trimming crew that actually contacted some guidelines that were inside of very dense brush. Did not see them. They hit it with a skid steer as they were clearing all one pass, which is how they cut it so easily, didn't even know they hit it. And knocked out power to all of us by hitting the guidelines, which are the support anchors for utility poles, popped up into the transmission overhead, 115,000 volt. Very dangerous situation, but they had no clue it had happened. And these things happen, and thankfully it was only 2 hours. Our crew was on it, they got it repaired, and everybody's back up and running. So, good little stress test. Speaking of some similar, also like things that affected substations and things that are affecting our area here in the Port Ludlow area, we have a transformer, which you might remember this one from about 1.5 years, 2 years ago. We had the transformer that faulted here and knocked out power for a while. We were lucky enough to have a backup transformer on site, which is very fortunate because that was actually going to be our second day at the substation over here. That was lucky. That one went off to South Dakota to be refurbished. It is now, just was approved the other day, 2 days ago, and it will be returning to action here or on the road to return to action in July. So that is ahead of schedule. We were expecting October, and that full rebuild comes with a price tag of almost $750,000 to refurbish a late 1960s, 70s parts transformer. That's a lot better than the $1.7 million it would take to get a brand new one. So we'll take the refurb. That's gonna live in bay 2 at the substation, so originally, we're back on schedule. And that bay 2 will help with the feeder that we are still planning and working with DNR to get easements on to basically make a really solid loop feed here and really help with resiliency, and help with growth, because there are some new homes coming on, in the very near future, it sounds like. So we are making some big steps toward that right now. The other big topic, and this one has been a big topic at our regular and special meetings, is rate study. So our rate study is coming to fruition here, and we're looking at a proposed 9% rate increase. And that is for 2025, and that's a pretty big number. It was larger previously, at the previous meeting here, I noted that it would be 11.25%. They've been able to figure out financing options and pare that number down to 9% for 2025. And then years of 2026 would then be 6.75%, 6.75% the next year, and 6.75% the next year. That adds up, all in total, I think 29.25% over 4 years. And that's a big number. That's a big number. That's actually lower than what we had originally been getting back from our FCS group, the financial consultants we've been working with. And we're doing that because we're able to do that because of long-term loan financing that we're looking into through RUS, who is the one that gave us $115 million to purchase this whole grid. So with that all moving forward, it's a big number to see. That adds up to approximately $12 a month per person, or per service is kind of the average based on kilowatt usage in our county. So, yeah, any questions on rate studies? I know it's been ongoing here, but yeah.
Does that cover improvements to infrastructure, or is that anticipated cost of electricity from BPA, or is it kind of all of the above?
All the above. So, infrastructure projects, it's currently we have 68.7 million on the docket for our 4-year work plan. And you may be wondering, like, how do you get kind of, it feels like you're behind the curve and now you have all these infrastructure things that need to happen. Well, a lot of our transformers and everything, they have a work cycle where we try and replace them. Or because of load growth, we did a huge study, ICPE out of Utah, they did a huge study of all of the data on every substation in our county. And what they gave us back is saying where load growth is an issue, voltage is an issue, and basically where we need to step it up. And that's what we're seeing now is we have a routine maintenance schedule for all of our large equipment. I said 1.7 million to 2 million for a new transformer. Those kind of things are the standard. We expect these things over 20, 30 years. But now we're kind of coming due on a lot of things, but also seeing that growth is impacting. We have, all of our homes are now using more energy, and we have to account for that. We're doing that in a creative way by having a mix of rate affecting, it's affecting rates, but it's also going out for the loans. So 39 million of that 68.7 is long-term loan financing. But yes, BPA is also a factor. They're looking at transmission costs of 20%, going up 20% with this next, when we approve it, like in October. That's just transmission. Cost of wholesale power, 9%, 9.5%. I'm not sure the final number they're settling on, but it all is going up. A lot of that is attributed to data farms. Those data servers and stuff take up a lot of infrastructure.
Right. What percentage of your overall budget is for power versus infrastructure versus staff versus trucks that run around fixing?
The number for power, it's not as high. It comes out to about 19 million a year for wholesale power purchase, which is a big chunk. We have, what's our working budget this year? I honestly can't, I don't know off the top of my head, but it's on par with, it's similar to what our staff cost is too. But wholesale purchase power, yeah, we're expecting it to go up. But right now we're still anticipating what that could be, even FCS, our group that did the financial review, and has for last year, they still have a little question mark about it. Like, we don't know what BPA is up to, so. Yeah,
So, in terms of the rate increase, is that for the base rate, or is this for an increase your kilowatt hour?
mixture of both.
Mixture of both.
So we're looking at, actually I jotted it down here just to double, triple check. Base rate for 2025, so right now we're at 28.50 is your base rate. Everybody pays whether you use a single kilowatt or not. Base rate will go up to 33.50 in 2025, like that's, if the board approves the numbers. 2026, 36.50, then 39.50 in 2027, and finally 2028 is 42.50, and that's the base rate. The rest of that money would be in kilowatt hours. And we're removing the third tier. There's 3 tiers you pay. You would pay from 0 kilowatts, you didn't use anything, to 600, which it's hard to stay under that range unless you have a super efficient house. You pay a certain kilowatt hour price. That's going up, I think, about a penny right now per kilowatt. The same for the next level up, which is 601 to 1600 and beyond. We're getting rid of the third tier beyond that because we found, unfortunately, the most affected people in that third tier, when you're using a ton of energy in wintertime, are the folks that are hurt the most. Regardless, they live in very thin walled, homes or old homes or trailers, manufactured homes, and they just get hammered by that winter fee. So we got rid of the third tier, trying to make it easier on that group.
Okay, next question is, the data farms you mentioned, I'm familiar with that they're consuming a tremendous amount of energy. Are they paying additional fees, or are they paying?
That's the generators, unfortunately. So like Grant PUD, for example, I used to work with Grant PUD in the middle of the state. They have 2 hydroelectric facilities, generators on the Columbia River. They are now looking at special rate pricing for server farms, for what's driving your AI, like ask ChatGPT, anything.
Right.
They're looking at that now because originally the reason people would post up a very large plant with 2 people operating it in the middle of the state was 3.5 cents a kilowatt hour.
Right.
We're over here paying 10.8 now, it might soon be. But they're getting power on the cheap because they generate it. But that's the difference, is they're trying to make it not as easy for them to just get away with it.
Right.
Really.
Right. Last question is, in terms of net metering or solar production, does PUD anticipate continuing that?
There's been no talk of changing the current system. So we actually have to supply, I think by law, we're required to supply, currently I think Washington State is at 1-to-1, like not wholesale power like some states do. When you, like my solar kit on my home, whatever I produce, like I don't pay an electric bill right now as the sun's out. It's great.
Okay.
But during the winter, eventually you run out. But yeah, they pay back 1-to-1 that I'm putting on the grid. Like, that's how it works. Some states do wholesale, so it's less than, say 10 points, is what we pay per kilowatt hour. They might only pay back the wholesale rate, whatever that might be. So,
Okay.
but right now, I haven't heard a single thing on changing anything to our structure.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
I just want to, I don't want to assume anything. You said, I think what I heard was, the per household should see approximately a raise of $12.
Yes.
That's monthly, correct?
Yes, and $5 of that 12 would be from the base rate increase alone. The rest we anticipate would be from the kilowatt hour.
Okay.
So
Thank you.
that again is estimate, depends on how much power you use.
Right.
Good number to work with. Sorry, I threw a lot at you all right there. There's been a lot happening, and we're also in the hunt for a new GM, which makes me sad, because our GM's awesome, he's really good. But I anticipate our board's gonna make really good choices here on, they have a hard job. And that's gonna be happening in the next month and a half to 2 months. We will have a candidate selected for board, or for our big things happen. But, yeah, any questions, anything else?
All right, thanks.
Right.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Greg Brotherton, District 3 County Commissioner, and a couple things to talk about, and I can take any questions on any topics, of course, as well. So, first of all, John had made a request talking about taking care of the landscaping and the median in the middle of Paradise Bay up there. And I did talk to our Public Works Department, and they've been struggling to find someone to manage those plantings. You know, they really don't have the staff. They've tried to hire a clerk, hire unsuccessfully, and an RFP out for a landscaping company. But if there is capacity and interest of doing it around here, that program is, the basis is already set up, and they would want to use the Adopt a Highway program, which they have. And what that would mean for, like, if PLBC wanted to manage it, you need one volunteer to sign up as the manager of that crew. They would have to go through a background check, and then they would have to, for L&I purposes, quantify the hours expended on it. We could supply, signage, but not staff, basically, to affect that work, and it would be, and of course, our deep appreciation and knowledge that you have probably the last median planters in the county, because they really can't support them. And it's a great frustration for a public works director when there's unsustainable work that's developed. Speaking of new work on public works shoulders, I'm participating in it with Diana Smealand, who I guess is not here today, and some others on a optic funded with the Olympic Peninsula Tourism Commission. Got a grant to fund a signage and potentially art in the roundabout that's going in at Paradise Bay Road. So they've narrowed down, they have an RFQ. Now they have an RFP process with 3 finalists who, many of them have art integrated in with the signage. And so I'll be participating in that RFP panel. June 25th we'll have, I think there was an open house last week that people can look at online, and I can share that info if anyone wants to know. But it needs to get installed by the end of the year. The county would have to take on ownership of the art, and then we'd probably use some of our lodging tax money to set aside money both for, kind of an escrow account when someone drives through the middle of the roundabout. There's already been one case of a truck suspended on top of the roundabout at Beaver Valley Road that WashDOT had to take care of, but if we put art in the middle, then that is Public Works responsibility. So we set money aside for that, and I had worked with our Public Works Department and WashDOT, the contractor, to get power, conduit for power already put in, so the conduit is waiting there. And there's also a non-metered, kind of like a traffic light deal that goes on with PUD for a monthly fee for that. You'll be happy to know that we nixed any water for the roundabout from the get-go. No plantings are going to go into the roundabout, so don't worry about that. Let's see, what else do I want to talk about? The development agreement with the Port Ludlow Associates has officially sunset as of May 8th. So our DCD does feel comfortable that they've got, a tickler on, the Forest Practice Act applications, so they will continue to advocate on behalf of the Port Ludlow area and their understanding that the open space area shouldn't be clear-cut, essentially. So that remains. I think that was the hanging chat that had some folks in Port Ludlow a little bit anxious, and we're still looking at that and working with it, so won't abandon it, even as we're moving to a new plan. Well, we won't have a dedicated planner to Port Ludlow anymore, because now, the Shoreline Master Program, all of our existing codes will pertain to any development that happens in Port Ludlow from this state going forward. The EDC, Team Jefferson, our associate development organization, along with the port, one of our economic development drivers. Our current ED, Cindy Brooks, her last day is yesterday, I think. I was at a meeting with her, and our new ED is on site. I was at a meeting with him today, David Balliff, and he's fantastic. He comes to us from USAID, so the federal government's loss is our gain, and he was the economic development specialist supporting Ecuador or El Salvador. So he comes with having managed a portfolio of $150 million. So we're just going to have to show him how the small pond operates a little bit. But we really have been leveling up the EDC recently, and we went from a person and a computer to now a full-time staff of 3 people. And we have more business development experts coming on, and some of the Recompete grant is really focused on South County and working with businesses in South County. So with your permission, at my next, in the July PLBC meeting, I'd love to bring probably Patty, who's our business development specialist, who's working with South County, half of her salary is paid for from the Recompete grant, to come and speak to the services, free services primarily, that EDC offers to businesses throughout Jefferson County, and she is focused exclusively on, half-time, not exclusively, 50% on South County, which certainly includes Port Ludlow. Let's see, what else was I going to talk about? A couple other things. Not in Port Ludlow, but we did find some funds to keep the emergency shelter operating at the American Legion open until the end of the year, which allows Bowling Cap to hopefully complete their new congregate shelter, which is gratifying. And then, on June 28th is County Preparedness Day. It was all county picnic for a long time, and it's a day where the Department of Emergency Management is working closely with the Production Alliance this year, and it brings together all manner of everything from the Community Wildfire Protection Plan to different safety and resilience groups. The Red Cross will be there. There'll be free food from Aaron Stark. I think they're talking strawberry shortcake. It's at Finn River from 9 to 4. All the fire departments will be there. We're also planning another public meeting kind of about fire writ large. So we have the Community Wildfire Protection Plan that's done, and we're applying for a grant for implementation of some of those policies. We also are going to be considering fireworks again. Fireworks are legal right now, but we have adjusted the fireworks code, as I think I've talked about here probably a couple of years ago. There's a strong fireworks lobby in Washington, so any change that you make to fireworks code that makes it more restrictive takes effect a year after you implement the code. So we couldn't make any changes for the 4th of July now, even if we wanted to. We are already in a moderate fire level, fire risk, so usually that happens automatically on July 1, but already everyone's restricted to residential fires of 3 feet in diameter or less. We still use barbecues and things like that. We found the new fireworks code, which is works with our new fire marshal office and the fire departments to really, even granularly between different fire districts, use the existing conditions to prevent or to make fireworks, ban fireworks in the case of extreme fire danger. We did that 2 years ago after permits had been already issued for fireworks stands, and it was really difficult to implement. And you can just imagine some of the big fireworks shows, down at the Irondale Log Dump or at Gardner, where you have one sheriff's deputy show up and try to issue $1,000 tickets to 200 people, and what would happen there. So it's proved difficult to implement. So I'd really like another conversation about fireworks. My personal view is that at this point, it's probably just the writing on the wall that we should ban consumer fireworks and move to public displays, and maybe incentivize and pay for public displays. So that's my personal view, but we're talking about that. Our new fire marshal program is growing, and it's really proved invaluable in helping fire departments investigate fires. There was just a structure fire down in Quilcene that took our fire marshal team of 3 all night long to help the fire departments figure out the cause. That has to be paid for somehow. one of the reasons and funding sources has been a commercial fire inspection, which we really haven't been doing, which is the responsibility of the fire marshals. So they started that program, and there's a lot of pushback about the efficacy of it, about the costs. It's $294 to get an annual fire inspection, which is a burden that many small businesses are chafing at, especially as they started with Brandon and Quill saying implementing this, and it's not totally in favor of regulations down that far south. But so we're going to be talking about that program too, and talk about the rationale behind it, see if we need to make any modifications as we move forward with the fire marshal program, and then of course talk about the ever-growing wildfire threat and the implementation. Hopeful good news about the implementation grant that we get. So stay tuned. That will happen later in the summer, as will our community connections will be coming to Port Ludlow, of course, as we do in non-election years for commissioners and other elected officers. We take the county elected and directors, elected leaders and directors out on a road show and coming to Port Ludlow, as well as all the other communities in Jefferson County this summer and fall. I think that's all I had for you. Good, I'm glad Tam isn't here, because I know I did not speak slow today, I'm sorry. Yes.
Getting back to the Adopt a Highway program.
Yes.
Our communications committee was looking at maybe taking that on, and then we found out that you guys no longer put up signs, giving credit to whoever's taking care of that section of road. Is there a mechanism that affords us the ability to put a sign up? Like if we wanted to put a welcome to Port Ludlow, this road, our roads are cleaned by the village council, blah, whatever we want to pay. Is there a way to do that for us to do it?
That's news to me that we wouldn't do it anymore. My basic cognizance of the Adopt a Highway program in the past has been seeing the signs of the
Right,
areas
exactly.
that have supported it. So
Exactly.
it seems
We
like
saw it as
the
free
least we
advertising.
can do. Yeah,
We
no,
both-
let me follow up on that.
That'd be great.
I didn't heard one way or the other from the Public Works Director, but I can't imagine that would be an obstacle.
Awesome, thank you.
Yes,
Greg, could you email our website with any grant programs you're aware of that might help us financially? As you know, we rely strictly on donations,
Right,
so we're looking into grants to support us.
okay.
So anything you think is applicable to our community. We do support the trails,
Yep.
emergency preparedness, community outreach.
Yeah.
We're holding these little events, but we're not generating the funds that we need for our annual budget.
It's a challenge. I mean, you guys are aware of the LTAC program, and that's
Yes.
one that you guys have applied for and been granted. I think the science program is funded through that. We don't have a lot of other county programs, but I'm on lots of boards. As I encounter them, I'd be happy to
Great.
share them with you. How, John?
Just Pleasant Harbor, you want to update us on that?
Oh, sure. So it's Pleasant Harbor continues. The commissioners published a kind of an open letter that was, I think, well reported in the Leader this week about our support of the program. It's the future second NPR in Jefferson County, and there's been, I don't know, a lot of public comment on it and discourse that we finally felt that we should give our opinion, which is kind of twofold, and there's two paths that the county is on. One is the county formed the NPR, did the rezoning, always been absolutely in favor of the project, have worked with the applicant now, Statesman, the developer, in multiple lawsuits against opponents. I had a government-to-government meeting with the Jamestown tribe and the Port Gamble Sklallam tribe, who are still frustrated over some of the development agreement regarding cattle and cultural heritage and things like that. And so we've always kind of been in a challenging place where we want this to succeed, and then also DCD especially is a neutral administrator of the regulations and needs to really cue that line to neutrally administer the regulations, and that those are based on a 1,000-page development agreement that you guys are probably more familiar with the ideas behind than many communities, and the subsequent 2018 and 2019 legal decisions that kind of added some framework to that. That they have to develop all of the amenities at the same time. You know, kind of the phasing aspect that they were gonna do, build the houses and then build the rec center, wasn't gonna fly. You have to build everything at the same time. So a few developments like that, including access to all the amenities. The swimming pools there will be accessible to the public. Different than our existing MPR, right? We're kind of going in both directions, and at this point right now, we're waiting for applications for both the pre-plat hearing, which would really kind of define the map and which would open the developer to bridge financing and really move the project forward. We had the hearing scheduled for May 16th. The DCD thought there were still some things that could be improved in the application. I think there's some changes that the applicant Statesman wanted to make, as well as recognizing that maybe there were elements that weren't quite mature. And then there's also one building application, building permit that they have applied for their agri-building, which is kind of a late addition that they see as they want to build all the houses in a modular style. So it's a $41,000 warehouse they would build the houses inside the warehouse. And we're struggling, I would say, with some of the ambiguity that still remains in the usage of that building. So we were just trying to outline in this open letter, basically both that our continued interest and being an ally in this, and also our role as making sure that all the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed.
Great, thank you.
Thanks, John.
Right. Why is that started in 2002, according to the leader?
That is true.
Why has that taken so long?
22 years.
Well, yeah, I mean, how long did Port Ludlow take?
I don't know.
Well, I mean, it just sunsetted about a month ago, right? It started in 1990, so these things do take a little while. But, there's been several stages, and, Statesman came into it, I think, in 2011. So, we, working with the original developer, which was a different company than subsequently purchased it, came up with didn't come up with the idea, the community of Brennan actually came up with it as they developed their sub-area plan. And we worked with them and it matured, moved forward, and then there was years where we were working with Statesman on the development agreement, and that took years, and there was a pretty significant billing dispute that took a year or two, the county has made mistakes. I think all parties, it's a pretty complicated thing. We had some billing issues that we negotiated with, and gave them a 20% discount on the pretty significant bill, and also added in a retainer to prevent the bill getting up over $200,000 again before it was made good on. And then, the thing that will delay a project more than anything is litigation, and there were, multiple cases against it, and then appeals that, take years. So we're glad that they've broken ground and are moving on it, but, these things move in fits and starts, so hopefully.
They do have a restaurant, or haven't they done something?
They own
golf course?
The marina, Pleasant Harbor Marina, is owned by the same people, and they've done a great job rehabilitating the facilities there and doing some of the really challenging, as you guys have heard here too, they've replaced a couple of the docks, which is, you want to replace same for same, you've got this huge mitigation bill that's going on, and they've navigated that really successfully. So they have made improvements in the area. They don't have a golf course or anything developed on the site. They don't have the preliminary plat established yet. So even now, they want to move the sewer system. They want to move the water system. So there's some pretty significant changes that are being proposed right now that also, delay these things. So it's a multitude of reasons. Howard.
Great. First of all, thanks for being here. Yesterday I attended the Trails Committee, and I'm going to start working with them. And one of the questions that came up was our trails maps. Everyone knows in this room, about 30 some odd miles of trails, thousands of hours every year of volunteerism. But our Trails Committee is really dependent on funding that comes through PLPC. So my question, it's actually more a statement, you and I can have this conversation, is what came up was the LTAC funding for lodging tax, essentially, and that X number of dollars comes out of Port Ludlow for that tax, but what does Port Ludlow get in return? That was the conversation how it was couched. And when we talked about that, tourism is a major source of income for the county, and Port Ludlow's trails are a major attraction for that. So the question would be, is that there are monies available, but more importantly really is making that connection, because I know you can't make that decision, but whatever, it goes along with what Lois is saying, is, you know, we're a port organization, and so we're looking for any help we can get financially.
Well, I have a very complicated answer to your statement. I've been a pretty divisive element in the tourism landscape for the last year. Personally, I don't think anyone should be printing maps anywhere. I think a digital map that people can access on their phones is a much better solution at this time.
Okay.
That's just my opinion. Regarding LTAC, we have had a representative from the resort at Port Ludlow as one of the 5 members of the LTAC committee that makes the recommendations forever. And you know, I think that's one of the problems is we don't have more churn on the organization. So we are on Monday actually reviewing applicants for the LTAC membership. So we have 5 applications for 4 members, and according to state law, it's required that half of the members, well, the chair is a county commissioner, and then half of the members of the Lodging Tax Advisory Committee are generators of lodging tax, hotels. Majority of Port Ludlow has been represented, the Lock Lodge. We have Cove RV is the 3rd applicant in that cohort, and then equal number of receivers of lodging tax. So we have only 2 receivers of lodging tax, which are the Jefferson County Historical Society and the Quilcene Historical Museum. So it has to be balanced between those 2 with the county commissioner as the kind of the odd person out to make sure that you get a vote. I would say that lodging tax doesn't actually add up to that much money. I mean, we get, you know, usually about $700,000 a year, which also supports, you know, our museums, the Quilcene Historical Museum, and the Jefferson County Historical Museum. Right now it supports visitor information centers, which I also think are a waste of money. It supports, I mean, I think it should support more destination development. It's like I talked about commitment to the signage at the Paradise Bay roundabout. So there's a lot of, you know, like all of these things, it's very oversubscribed. I don't believe that it should be based on, you know, Port Ludlow contributed this much, so this much should go to Port Ludlow. And also, as we look, the group that contributes the most money might be in Port Ludlow, but it's disaggregated because it's short-term rentals, which generate the lion's share, you know, Airbnbs and Verbos that have no voice in it right now, that contribute the lion's share of lodging tax to our coffers.
So what's the best way to move that conversation? I guess that's really what I really want to get
The
to.
RFP comes in the fall, and so PLVC will make sure to let you guys know when that application comes through, and then there's an application process, and the RCW is very clear and succinct and vague. The RCW definitely guides the process, and you know, I'm on the LTAC right now. I'm probably going to try to get off the LTAC so I can make a proposal based on the county as well, because the fact that, unlike the city of Port Townsend or most areas, we don't have any staff dedicated to administration of tourism or the Lodging Tax Advisory Committee is, well, it means that I'm doing the staff work basically. But, so it's a complex conversation, but I'll make sure you guys know when the application period is, and you guys have benefited from it before. Know that it's It's competed for. I'm not trying to put a swimming pool in there this year. That was a big thing that really kind of angered some people last year. So you won't have that to compete against.
Well, we'll have a deeper discussion. Thank you very much.
Any other questions?
I've heard a question, but more of a comment about your mentioning the median maintenance. I think that approach is really a better approach than just sort of having public works, the vegetation management. I mean, let's just be frank, they're not delicate. They're not set up.
I mean, it's Blackberry there to pull out right now. It's like, it's not like they're coming in. Yes, you're right.
There's a lot of folks in Fort Ludlow that love to garden, and we could really make that pretty a couple times a year with maintenance, but we would need the support of signage and maybe even detouring around that main section.
I mean, I think we can get signage to facilitate detouring, probably not the staff to facilitate it.
Yeah,
So,
'cause
I'm happy to work with it.
it's narrow, and I'm picturing working in that median, and put all the signs you want, cones, there are people who just won't slow down.
Right, yeah. Well, we can work through it together.
Great, thanks.
Okay.
Who should be our
I got
primary
you down.
contact?
Work with
That's-
me.
that's your new
and I'll set
committee.
you up with, I'm not sure who's in the roads department, but I'm gonna answer Jeff's question too about that, the signage for, thanks,
About signage?
appreciation for it. That seems like the least that we can do.
Yeah,
is-
we're gonna risk our lives.
Right. Yeah, totally. Some reflecting things too. I think we can come up with that. So, thank you guys.
All right, great. Thanks very much.
Yep.
Joan? Use the mic.
Joan Johnston, LMC representative. There must be a wave of shortage of GMs because we are also looking for a general manager. Our beloved Brian, his last day is December 31st. He's retiring, very well deserved. We've had 2 finalists who made it through to the final interview stage, and in one case, it became clear this was not a good fit, and the other one, she started looking at what the job really was, and she said, I think one person. And so, we are kind of backing down to square one, where we're going to take a look at the job of the general manager and perhaps start dividing it up a bit. We don't think any one person, no matter, even if they had 6 months with Brian, would be able to adequately meet that job. And so we have a payroll person who probably could take over the banking and so on. So we're redefining the job, and then we'll start figuring out how to get it done. We will have a general manager. It will happen before the end of the year. And the sooner we get it done, the sooner the person can shadow Brian and learn all those jobs. Our Greenbelt, hard-working Greenbelt committee continues with their fire mitigation project in the 100+ acres of Greenbelt. Some grant money is supporting the chippers, but mostly it's some real hardworking folks limbing trees up, clearing out brush, and making our Greenbelt more fire safe. The accessibility project, I've talked about it before, but I think we've got a couple of new people here. There are members of LMC who have never been able to go downstairs to the pool level because of accessibility. So we are taking a look at an elevator, automatic doors, ramps that would replace the steps down on the lower level, and some designated parking. It's a $1.5 million project, and so we are also looking at lots of funding. One of our goals for our next month's meeting is to have a funding plan in place to reduce the amount that we have to ask our constituents to pay. On May 3rd, we held a very well-attended emergency preparedness fair with lots of great speakers and many folks there who set up tables. So that continues to be a highly sought-out thing for our members. And finally, a happy note. On Saturday, June 28th, also a popular day, is the ice cream social from 1 to 3, which is open to all of Port Ludlow. It'll be outside on the grass if the weather is fair. It'll be inside in the baby if it is not. So that is our LMC report. Any questions?
Great, thank you, John. Question? Carol?
Carolyn O'Keefe, I'm the SPCA president, and our update for this month is that on May 9th, we had a really successful taste and sip event in our auditorium, and I think we had sold out, and we had 3 different wines and 3 different food bites. The one of them ended with a flourless chocolate torte, which was awesome. A second item that I think I shared last time was that Olympic Terrace 2 is having phase 2 developed by Richmond American Homes, and they are really hard at it, so much so we had to remind them of the construction hours that are for South Bay, because some of those folks like to work till 8:45 at night. So we have all 15 lots have been approved for building and landscaping by the SPCA ARC. And it's hard to keep up with how many houses are up already, but at one count it was 5 with 4 other lots in some form of construction, whether it was just getting ready for the foundation or building of the foundation. So things are really happening. The model home is really coming along quite well, even has its siding going up. They hope to have that open, I think sometime in June, hopefully. Well, we're in June, so like mid-June if we can. We have our pancake breakfast tomorrow, so if you're all interested, it's to support Port Ludlow players, and our pancake breakfast are sold out events. We never sell them out, but we seem to be able to feed a herd. But it's very well attended, and the folks make some pretty good money. So we've hosted trails, and then we did a service for hospice, Jefferson County Healthcare Hospice. So it's a really wonderful event. And I think the last item I would say is we have our upcoming annual meeting on July 16th at 1 p.m. here in the auditorium, where we'll do our normal meeting on how's it going here at South Bay Community and what are our updates, looking at our financials. And the good news for us on the board is that we have 3 open positions with a full slate of candidates, so we're very happy about that. That's it for us.
Thank you, Carol.
Do you want this thing?
I guess. Thank you.
All right, moving to board business. Accept a motion for approval of the May 2025 PLBC minutes.
I make the motion to accept the minutes.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays? All right. John, Fair Treasurer's.
Yes, I need that.
Thanks, Dan.
Right, again, it's, donations for this month of May was $938. We had a yard sale and a bake sale at the Beach Club in the last, about a week and a half ago, if I remember correctly. And we netted $638 from that. So of the $938, a lot of that came from the bake sale. So we thank Kay and the other volunteers who did a great job to support that. The sad news is that, for the year, we've so far had donations and collections from various activities of $2,300. It's a long way off, now the year's almost halfway over, it's a long way off from our $15,000 operating budget, so that's something we have to focus on coming up. This month, PLVC spent $3,700. The bulk of that was for insurance. We renewed our insurance for the liability for officers of the PLVC, a required insurance for us, and the general liability insurance for trails and other activities. And so that total amount was $3,451, and that's about 23% of our budget. So to date, we've spent $9,000 this year. We have $13,000 cash remaining in our bank accounts, and we expect to spend about $5,700 for the rest of this year. So if you do the math, you have about $6,000 to $7,000 left at the end of this fiscal year, which will help us into the next year. That's all I have. Any questions?
Are we all clear on from an insurance perspective, are we clear with SPCA?
We are clear for now, but that may not continue because when the new board is in place at SCCA, there might be some questions that send requests. So we're waiting for the new board to get in place.
Okay.
We've also send you a document outlining our insurance and what we do and what we cover for a general purpose. One of the difficulties that the Finance Committee had, there was no background document on what insurance we have and why we have it. So we've created that document as we understand it now. I'll circulate that to the board, and we have to find a way to keep that someplace where we can find it for next year when the new people ask the same questions.
Great. Do you want to comment on any of the other items that you sent out?
Fundraising?
Well, I'll go into the finance part of the committee. So as I mentioned, we raised, $2,300 so far this year. Our budget is $15,000 as it stands now. We have a ways to go to be ready for the following year. So we're starting to focus, the finance group is focus on how are we going to get $15,000 for next year. So we have a couple things. We kicked around some ideas that we're going to explore in the next month. One is, you heard a number of conversations about it at this meeting with Greg, is the LTAC grant. We're going to go look into that some more and see if we have a chance at applying for that. We'd ask for a small amount. No, we wouldn't ask for a reasonable amount is maybe $5,000 to $10,000 for PLVC. So we'll look into that. Howard is going to look into a donor dinner. We have a number of donors who gave a substantial amount of money, and we think we should pay them some respect and honor them by having a dinner, maybe at Port Ludlow Inn perhaps, where we could thank them for their donations and maybe get some additional donations for the coming year. So we're going to plan that in the next month and bring that to you, the board, next month. Lotus points out there's a July 5th concert sponsored by John L. Scott Realtors is a great group, what are they called again?
The Granny Panties.
The Granny Panties.
Sorry about the name, it's a little embarrassing when you're explaining what the group is, but they're a rock and roll band and they're really good apparently, and it's free.
Yeah.
And Scott Realty was great to add us to their mix, so we're gonna do a raffle, I think. Are you gonna address that, Jeff?
Which brings up,
Well,
We're
so,
gonna
so
do a raffle.
we're looking into doing a raffle. We're at that event where we'll have to work on the details, but this is we're looking for some donors, and I think you have one with the spa.
Yes, our local groomer in the village, she's brand new, she gave me 5 gift cards for 20 each, which I thought was very generous for a beginning business. And we'll be hitting up some of the local establishments for like a free dinner, but if you have any ideas, please contact us on our website. I kicked in for an Amazon gift card. My daughter does handcrafted cards, so she's gonna mail them to me from California. So I said, can we raffle your thank you cards off? So anything that you think the community would like, any ideas you have, please send them our way. We're not ashamed to beg.
and quickly, because we've got about a month.
Yes.
Until this event. But, you go ahead.
Yeah, so, do we need a motion to go forward with this?
yeah.
Yeah, so,
Just a list of, right?
so since we won't meet till the day before,
Right.
this event, I think, I'll make a motion that, the board allow the, Lois and Howard and the finance group to come up with a plan for raffling, off,
And the communications team.
and the
We'll need
and the
them for
communication team
visibility.
to get this out, yeah.
We need a table
Right.
at the event, but please join us, it looks like, and it's free, and Molcajete will have food, and there's a beer garden, margaritas.
Pizza.
It'll be a fun thing, right up in the little grassy area.
So, so the motion is to go, I guess the motion is to, go forward with this, to plan a raffle at the July 5th event, using whatever resources we need to do to accomplish this. And, that's my motion. Do I get a second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays?
Any nays?
And you do good, John.
Yeah, thanks. The other thing, we're just kicking around vaguely, and we're getting a lot, as we put this out, we're getting a lot of ideas. So we're talking about maybe a concept of paid advertising on our website.
Yes, on our website.
And we want to explore that a little bit with the communications team. And Jeff issued the idea, well, what if we had a PLV discount card you could buy?
Yeah.
And you have the advertising on, the suppliers, the vendors would put their advertising on our website and would say 5% off if you go to dinner at a Mexican restaurant or something like that. And you buy the card for a certain amount of money. And so we're going to explore that a little more next month.
That's great.
And,
We're spinning.
I think
and
the LPA does a pretty good job with that already.
yeah.
Right.
Oh, do they? Okay.
I've been seeing a lot of advertising, both on their reader board at the concerts, but I think on their website as well. They have sponsored organizations that I presume are contributing to the LPA.
Okay. So we're gonna explore that and come back with more details. And finally, Howard has made some great connections with the Richmond Homes. And Richmond Homes is interested in doing something in the community. And Howard, if you want to speak more about that, what you're thinking.
Well, what I'm thinking is thank Richmond Homes. They are willing to support activities that promote through the entire Portland local community. And so we broached a couple of ideas. One was movie night. Another one was having music. We haven't taken it any further. I don't know whether we don't really need another committee as much as we need to kind of vet out what we could do. But anything we do, hopefully is a fundraiser for PLBC, because in the end, that's what we're trying to keep us financially sound. And in regards to the donor dinner, it was really John's idea. I just picked up from your thoughts, John, and think that's a wonderful way to thank the folks that are our major donors. And then possibly even when we do our elections, do something similar to what LMC does, which is the night before your elections, you throw a party. And you have a couple hundred folks that show up at the party. The next day you end up with about 40 or 50 people that show up to vote. So that could be really, to me, another way to thank all of our donors and appreciation. And so that's at the beginning. And I think what I'm hopeful is that Lois, I, John, whoever else wants to get involved in that, particularly Jeff as well, and really kind of work through some of the details and come back with some proposals, would be my thinking.
So this is just the beginning. We're trying to come up with some ideas to cover next year, and maybe think about what could be sustainable of these ideas we come up with. And so that's what we're starting on. We started on this month, and we'll update you more as time goes on. But we're all starting to feel the pressure of the funds trickling away, and so we want to make sure we are ready for the following years.
That's great, thanks, John. Emergency Committee, Jeff, do you want to comment on that at all? Because you attended the last meeting, right?
I did. I don't have much to say. Sorry, not with that microphone. I think the only thing that came up was they wanted us to share out the videos that the county has been putting together. They've been doing a monthly or maybe a bi-monthly emergency training at the library. And I've got a link that I will put out for that, but other than that, there wasn't much. They've applied for a grant through Port Townsend Rotary, I think, for some more radios, I believe was the primary need for the funding. See what happens with that. But yeah, nothing, it was a 15-minute, there was only 3 of us, so it was a quick one.
Quick meeting.
I would like to have the board approve Jeff as our POBC board liaison to the emergency committee. We do try to stay connected to the committees. Many of them are primarily formed from board members themselves. Emergency committee operates pretty independently, as do trails, so we have dedicated liaisons for both those committees. So I would entertain a motion to approve Jeff Lang as our board liaison for the emergency committee.
I'll motion for that.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays?
Okay.
Approved. And while we're doing that, I'd like to do the same thing with Howard Weiner as our board liaison for the Trails Committee. So I would accept a motion to approve Howard Weiner as board liaison to the POBC Trails Committee.
I motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays? Approved. All right, those are both done. Thank you, Howard and Jeff, both for agreeing to keep us connected to those committees as well. From a communications perspective, Jeff, before I turn it over to you, just want to say thank you, specifically focused on Kay and your wife Christy for the bake sale coordination and all of the activities that happened up at the rummage sale. And you guys did a great job, as well attended. I don't know that we actually tracked the number of attendees, but there were hundreds of people up there. We had wonderful weather for it, and it was really well organized, and Kay did an exceptional job of pulling it all together, and we will miss her a great deal. Those of you who don't know, Kay sold her home in North Bay and has moved to the Long Branch Peninsula. So she left the board as a result of leaving Port Ludlow. So she was a comparatively new arrival here and brought tremendous energy and a great attitude. And we miss her already. So, but thanks to the communications team for Do you have other things you want to comment on, Jeff?
I don't, other than, I mean, that was 90% K. I mean, it's great to thank the committee, but it was really 90% K who did that. We sold $320 through the bake sale at $1 a piece, so that's a lot of damn cookies. That includes the coffee, which was probably 75 of that, but it was a lot of cookies, well attended. And Kay has reached out and thanked everybody who was involved, donating their time or facilities. The inn who showed up with the pulled pork sandwiches because we couldn't find a food vendor to come. They happily stepped in.
That was the fireside?
Yeah.
Fire rescue.
In the chef.
Yep, yeah.
Fire rescue was
Animal
there.
shelter.
Yeah, and she's already had people reaching out to her wondering when the next one is, so I think this is gonna be an event that lasts.
That's great, thank you. And also a special thank you to Cove Coffee.
Yeah, they donated
They
5
donated
crafts.
Five crafts.
Donated the
By the
crafts.
time we were done, yeah.
100% donated, yeah. We didn't,
I'm sure she probably already thanked them, but just for the
Yep.
general public to be aware that Cove
Yep.
Coffee was supporting that event as well.
and then I think Lois covered the July 5th pretty well. Is there anything more you want to say about that while we're here?
No, we're just gonna be posting flyers. If you have ideas for the raffle, or you wanna donate something yourself that you think the community would like, you can contact me through the website. But I think it's gonna be, organizing.
Yep.
Already bought the raffle tickets from Amazon.
Thanks, Lois. Tam is vacationing in Eastern Washington with her husband. And I don't think we have anybody here from the administration committee, so no updates today, although I know that they're actively working on policies and procedures. So from an administration perspective, we have the articles of incorporation are complete, the bylaws are complete, and they're working to finalize policies and procedures. Hopefully we'll be able to do that at our next meeting in July. And at that same meeting in July, we will need to set a date, a revised date for our annual meeting in October, due to absence of some people. All right, utilities, John?
Utilities didn't meet this month.
Okay, all right, no updates from utilities. Trails, Howard, do you want to report on anything from your meeting with them?
Just briefly, it's amazing how many trails we have. Essentially what they did at the meeting was went through each trail and the work that they can do over the rest of the year. The one statistic that was really amazed me is they've already put forth 10,000 volunteer hours. Trails, they have somebody who tracks all of the volunteer hours. Last year, I believe, don't hold me to it, because I don't have the notes yet, but I believe it was 24,000 hours that they invested for the community, the volunteers. So they deserve all the applause that they can give. Hopefully, we will find ways in which we can even raise the bar. One thing I brought up yesterday was ADA, which I'm reading up in a lot of places, but how many of our trails have some access for folks with ADA issues? And there are some, not many. But one of the things I'd like to look at again is grants. I'm going to follow up with a conversation with Greg Brotherton and hopefully get connected with folks that can be helpful.
Great, thank you, Howard. Any comments or questions from our attendees? Yes?
I'm Michelle Allinger, I'm from the current president of our HOA, and we have a trails agreement that I gave you a copy of. And working on, probably need to update that. And I had a question because of the springboard trail that was added. Who approved it and when was it approved?
That's a very good question. I don't have the answer to that here because typically the trails organization operates operates fairly independently. They don't come to us for approval of their trail construction. So it would be in their minutes, I believe, of the Trails Committee. We can find out for you.
Okay, and also, based on that agreement, our name's supposed to be in the insurance policy.
Okay? Great.
And so it would be the Trails Committee that we need to work with.
Now, we're gonna get you
and-
that, we're gonna get you a certificate of insurance naming you as a co-insured.
Okay,
We just renewed our insurance last week,
okay.
so, we're asking our insurance agent to create those certificate of co-insurance documents for you and PLA, and,
Okay. So
they have
that's
it
what we're
already.
on our records.
yeah.
So this is specific for
OT2.
Only OT2.
For OT2.
No, but you're getting we're talking about a certificate that says you're co-insured.
Right.
Your name is a co-insured,
Yeah.
and
Okay.
we're gonna get that for you in next week or so.
Okay, and then if we can find out exactly when the trail was approved and started and who approved it, because I can tell you the OT2 board did not.
This is the, what, the name of the trail again?
Springboard.
The
Springboard.
Springboard is the
Springboard.
newest one.
I imagine that Tiverton Village would potentially have the same kind of agreement, because they have a lot of trails going through it. This one is dated 2019, the same time that SBCA document was created with PLVC and trails, so I think it was an all-out effort.
So is the Springboard Trail, is it on OT2 property?
Yes, it's on our limited common.
Okay, yeah. We'll find out.
Just so you know, what I'll do, I'm gonna contact Larry Scott. Larry, if there's any agreements, he's the one who makes them. He runs a very tight ship, so I'll send him an email. And if I can get your email before you leave today, I will respond to you directly.
Okay. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Yes?
I'd just like to take a moment to thank the board for the emails that are coming from PLBC. I think that they're really informative and they help remind us what's happening in the community and when the next order is, so that's really helpful.
Oh, thank you.
That's very, very nice to hear that. Jeff and the
It is.
communications team.
Yeah.
Tracy, Jeff, others.
And they keep getting better.
Have been,
Yeah,
have been
Thanks.
working to continue to improve our outreach and trying to make use of our digital technology, even for that one.
But along those lines, though, if there's anything you want to see put in there, like if you know an event that's coming up, send it our way. Because I pretty much flipped through the voice and
Especially
through.
with OT coming on board, and
Yeah.
we need to get you involved in our communication.
That would be nice.
Yes. I
Yeah.
mean, this is a new group. More energy.
Reel 'em in, let's go.
Oh, man.
Any other questions from our attendees? Any questions from board members? I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I make that motion.
We have a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Second.
Second, Joe.